Don't assume you need to fly to Kentucky to experience a great distillery. More and more towns across the country are producing craft bourbon, and they've been doing that for a while.
Minnesota's got the large temperature swings that you need to make some good whiskey. There's no wrong way to drink it.
Don't shoot bourbon, but, it is meant to be enjoyed.
We're Jay and Bea, and at the beginning of 2021, we hit the road. Permanently. We traded our city apartment for a constant stream of Airbnbs, new states, and places. And we wouldn't have it any other way. Come along with us as we explore all the U.S. and beyond has to offer. And join us as we continue
Living on the way.
Hello there, and welcome back to Living on the Way Quick Takes, short, sip-sized episodes from our life on the move. I'm Bea.
And I'm Jay.
And we're recording this just up the way from Cantilever Hotel and Distillery. And we're on the Minnesota-Canada border. And we're apparently, I didn't know this, but we're celebrating National Bourbon Day with tasting, music, food, and more.
Which got us thinking, after many years of visiting distilleries across the country, we've probably been to over 100 distilleries now at this point.
At least, absolutely.
Our heart's still with the ones we started with in Kentucky. We decided it's time we share our top 5 bourbon tourism tips for those travelers like ourselves who love the journey as much as the pour.
So let's start in Kentucky. And there is nowhere like bourbon country. That is where we got our start, like Jay said. So we've visited the big names like Maker's Mark, Jim Beam, Woodford Reserve, and we keep coming back to those big guys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think the large distillers might be too commercial feeling, and they are to a little bit, but they're so relaxing and peaceful. They have a wide selection of their products, and they always have a bar. Some of them are getting pretty fancy anymore. You can try their products out. And it's in Kentucky, so it has the aspect of rolling hills and greenness. Or even Buffalo Trace with the more industrial factory look. But it's very beautiful in our minds. And we've, at this point, been to the big ones at least once, if not twice, if not 3-4 times.
Yeah, and there is nothing like sitting on one of their patios and looking out at the rolling hills, because the big guys, they have the good land. There's nothing like that. But we've also had our share of little craft distilleries.
Yeah, craft distilleries are probably my favorite at this point to visit, because you get a little more personalized experience. And maybe the one or two that come to mind immediately that I often recommend to folks is there's one near Frankfort, Kentucky was called Three Boys, but now it's been renamed Whiskey Thief, which it just has a nice unique experience where you go down to the production area and they have a rick house adjacent, and then they have the barrels, and they had every time we've gone 2-3 times, they have 6 or 7 barrels where you can thief the whiskey directly, and they give you a sample of each. And it's just an amazing experience to have that tour, then end with sampling of some of their
Straight from the barrel.
It's just a really fun experience, and folks that aren't as into bourbon, we take them to it, and they love it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other, I can't go without saying that, another favorite of mine is also in Kentucky, Glen Creek. Their master's distiller, and I don't remember his name, but he gives a fantastic tour, because after you've been to a few, you start to see the similarities, and that you like them, you enjoy them, but you also realize sometimes they're a bit pretentious on other places, and at least it gets repetitive.
It does.
You go on a tour with this gentleman, he's a little bit snarky, super hilarious. He gives you like the non-pretentious view of things.
I love the stories he puts on his bourbons. I don't know if he still does it, but I did enjoy that too. That's something that I still remember.
Yeah, he points out kind of all the extra marketing folks throw on there, and does it in a snarky way. It's very humorous, and I really appreciate it. So I would definitely recommend Glen Creek as well.
So let's move on to tip number 2. Don't assume you need to fly to Kentucky to experience a great distillery. More and more towns across the country are producing craft bourbon, and they've been doing that for a while. So they've had time to age and come to, really good tasting bourbon.
Certainly a lot of folks had the same idea, tried to make some money. So they've been popping up distilleries for sure in every state. I think we've been to one in every state that we visited.
Almost every. Yeah, probably, actually. Good point.
I think we have. I mean, everything in the heart of the country, through the coast, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania.
Vermont.
Even places you wouldn't think, like Florida, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Every place has distilleries anymore, and usually they're making a whiskey of some type, and usually it's a bourbon. For example, right now we're staring at Canada, but we're sitting in Minnesota, and it's a small distillery we just learned about called Cantilever. And it's an interesting operation here. They have a full hotel connected to the distillery. And being here on Bourbon Days made it so they got a little extra.
They have an impromptu distillery tour.
Absolutely. And their whiskey's good. Minnesota's got the large temperature swings that you need to make some good whiskey.
So Kentucky has swings, but Minnesota, what did he say?
Yeah,
-20.
Yeah, minus
we
30
get down.
up into the 90s here in the lake.
So if you know about bourbon distilling, it's the barrel has to open and close, and it depends on the temperature. So here it's totally different than in Kentucky, but it is the swings. So it was fascinating. So what did you think of the bourbon then?
Bourbon here is solid.
Yeah, we got to
batch.
taste it right out of the barrel, which is a special for this particular time of the year. They don't usually do that, but it's because of open house.
A younger distillate for sure, but it was very
It's
tasty.
5 years.
Tasted young. But I think the main aspect that we want to know, and one of the first things we do when we visit an area, is we just Google Map search distillery, and that's where you can recognize how many distilleries are around, and we can pick one or two to visit.
Absolutely. So definitely check wherever it is you're at. There's probably a distillery of some sort. And we like bourbon, so we look for that.
That leads to our next tip. Tip number 3, one of our favorite places outside of Kentucky is Colorado. It's probably its own tip. In Denver, we've done visits to Law's Whiskey House and Stranahan's, both of which
In downtown, or well, in the greater Denver area.
very short drive from downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good fun, good flavors, good way to experience the local.
Yeah, Laws had like a honey launch of some sort when we were there a couple years
Yeah.
ago.
That was good stuff, honey cask.
Yeah, Jay bought at least 2 bottles.
Yeah, I think about 4, and they didn't even make the rest of the year. They were very delicious.
Mm-hmm. And add in Breckenridge Distillery and Breckenridge, which we're not skiers, so we don't go to Breckenridge necessarily in the winter, but we go in the summer for the mountain views and the downtown. We love the town of Breckenridge, and they have 2 locations in Breckenridge. They're the main distillery just outside the town, and then they have a tasting room in downtown Breckenridge. People pouring the tastings are really fun. They're very informative. I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, never had a bad experience there. And one gentleman there that we've met 3 or 4 times there, he works quite frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Recommend that you got to get out to this distillery itself. They have a nice restaurant there, and they have a couple more options that they don't have at the tasting room. And he was right. We went out, visited a distillery, and had a nice dinner and tried a few more of their products.
But if you're in the town of Breckenridge, if you're on a mountain hike and you're walking through Breckenridge, which is totally doable, there's mountain hikes all around, definitely stop in for a taste.
To build on Colorado, a lot of the mountain towns have distilleries. We've been to 291, Deerhammer, a couple more that escape.
There's one in Vail, 10th.
Yeah, 10th Infantry or 10th Division.
Mhm.
Yeah, plus a couple others. So many of the towns have a distillery. So Colorado's another great place to experience whiskey.
And the nice thing about Colorado is they have the ski towns, which, like I said, we visit in the summer, but they'll have tasting rooms in these different ski towns. So a lot of options in Colorado. Maybe it's because we go to Colorado, or maybe it's because the distilleries are just that fun. But Colorado is tip number 3. Tip 4, plan around events for an even bigger experience. So one of the best ways to elevate your bourbon trip is to time it up with an event.
Yeah, scout ahead. That's, I think, the
Mhm.
key. If you're looking to up it a notch, elevate it, look for events or classes or experiences at the distillery or around the towns that the distilleries are near. And as noted, like here at Cantilever during what happens to be National Bourbon Day,
Mm-hmm.
we got a tasting, had some local music, some barbecue happened later tonight. It makes the experience feel more immersive.
And we've also been to distilleries that host things like limited bottle releases, cocktail workshops, food pairings. That's my personal favorite. Things you totally miss if you didn't check their calendar. And I think it was Woodford Reserve one time had a picnic dinner. Was that Woodford Reserve?
Yes, that was fun. It was an evening sunset where they had different distillery options, and then they had a really nice dinner.
Yeah, this was 2019. So this is pre-COVID, but I think there's things are starting to come back. But definitely check the calendar for fun events.
And of course, don't forget that there are festivals dedicated to bourbon as well, including our favorite, which is Bourbon on the Banks in Frankfort, Kentucky. Some of the bourbon events are very busy and they're all very popular. Bourbon on the Banks is both those, but it's just small enough that you can actually get around and try many different products. Got a beautiful setting, and you can meet a lot of the representatives that are making the distillate.
And the last time we went a year ago or 2 years ago, we actually did the full weekend where we did the pre-event, we did the Bourbon on the Banks. It was a great experience.
The key is look for bourbon festivals, search your area, search the internet, see what's around, and maybe even make a whole trip out of it because they are always been a good experience for ourselves.
Here we are, number 5. One of our favorite bourbon tips, stay at the distillery.
Or at least nearby. They don't all have options directly on site, but a couple do. So we've stayed at hotels like Cantilever, where the tasting room is just downstairs. So there's no need to ride share, line up a designated driver. There's no rushing. You can just be calm, relax, enjoy the experience. And of course, just walk to your room right after your last pour.
And some distilleries have lodges or they partner with Airbnb or the other B&Bs in the area. And while you may not be able to stay in a hotel that is a distillery, you can actually hire a company to take you around. Either way, you could get to everything. All right, so those were the 5 tips. Jay, is there anything that's honorable mention? Anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, a couple other tips. Almost all of them have passports you can get stamped as you go along.
Who doesn't love a good passport?
Yeah, it just makes it kind of a fun collecting experience for the little guys, the big guys. States have them. Minnesota, where we're at right now, has one for all the ones in Minnesota. So that adds a little extra collection aspect.
Look for the passport book. And don't feel you have to be fancy in your sipping. Yes, I have been to enough distilleries that I know how to properly sip a bourbon. I'm not going to leave it behind. But don't feel like you have to. It's fun.
There's no wrong way to drink it.
Don't shoot bourbon, but, it is meant to be enjoyed. Whether you're new to bourbon or you're a seasoned sipper, these tips turn your travel into a full flavored adventure.
So whether you're hitting the bourbon trail in Kentucky or sipping high altitude pours in the Colorado Rockies, don't just chase the high-end, fancy, hard-to-get allocated bottles, but chase the experiences.
Thanks for joining Living on the Way Quick Takes. Subscribe or follow wherever it is you listen to your podcasts for more short editions and full-length stories, because Cantilever is actually going to be a part of a full length about the interesting places we like to stay along our travels. And until next time, we will be
living on the way.